Software samplers have come a long way in the last few years. Today's software samplers host an array of features that allow you to do some incredible things with sound. Native Instruments Kontakt 3 is one of those powerful software samplers. In this video, I want to show you how you can use the granular sampling features in Kontakt 3 to transform an ordinary percussive sound into a playable melodic pad instrument. Sounds like witchcraft. It's not.
Here we have Kontakt 3. I've chosen to open Kontakt as an audio units plugin inside of Logic, but what you're going to learn here will work if you're using Kontakt standalone or in any other sequencer. It really doesn't matter. I've navigated here on the left to a folder of samples I've recently recorded. We have some drum sounds, as well as the sound of a Yamaha C7 being hit with a hammer, which you probably should not do. We also have some cymbals being hit with a stick, and some metallic drum sounds. That's drum hardware being hit with a stick as well. That one actually sounds pretty good, so I'm going to drag it right over into the workspace, and you'll see that Kontakt creates an instrument automatically right off the bat. Kontakt will also apply the default sampler method of transposing the sample, which is to speed it up as you ascend the keyboard. That's pretty default behavior. If you've ever used any kind of a sampler, you've probably seen that before. That's not really what we're looking to do here, though, and in order to make this sound a bit more like a pad, we're going to have to dig under the hood of Kontakt a little bit more. So we click on this wrench up here, and that's going to pop open a whole bunch of options. This may look a little daunting to you if you're not used to using Kontakt, but just bear with me for a bit. We're primarily going to be focusing on this upper section here, which is the source module. By default, Kontakt loads samples in what's called DFD mode. This means direct from disk, and it means that the sample is actually streaming directly from your hard disk. This saves on RAM, and as long as you have a reasonably fast hard disk, it's actually a very efficient way of handling sample content. However, for what we're doing, we want to actually change the sample source type from DFD to what's called tone machine. Tone machine is one of several granular sampling methods inside of Kontakt 3. Granular sampling essentially means that Kontakt slices up the sample into tiny slices or grains, which it can then manipulate in much different ways than it can a standard sample. So straight away, you'll see that the tone machine has had a pretty significant impact on the way our instrument sounds. Kontakt is now pitching the sample independent of playback speed, so if I play this low C, it has the same length as this high C. And Kontakt is able to do this by virtue of granular sample processing. So now we have something that's more typically musical, but still not quite what we're looking for. So let's see if we can make some adjustments here to make this sound even more like a pad. You'll notice now that we switched to tone machine that we have some more options here in the source module. Here we have the speed knob, for example, which does exactly what it says. It adjusts the playback speed of our sample. Now keep in mind, once again, we're in a granular sampling mode, so that when we adjust this, we're not actually going to change the pitch. I'm going to crank it way down here to about 3%. Our little metal sound is starting to sound more and more like a pad. How is Kontakt 3 doing this? Let's review just a little bit. The tone machine is granularly operating on our sample so that it can independently adjust length and pitch. Another knob to pay attention to here is the formant knob. Now, formants are technically peak frequencies which are caused by acoustic resonance, but skipping all the technical jargon, what the formant knob does here is kind of brightens or darkens the timbral characteristics of your sound. So the effective result of the formant knob is that it either warms up the sound or makes it kind of brittle. Since we have metal being hit with a stick, that's already brittle, so we'll back down the formant knob a little bit to kind of give it a warmer sound. We're well on the way. We have a playable instrument already out of our metal clicking sound. There's a few more things we can do to kind of enhance the pad-like nature of this sound. If we scroll down to the bottom of this instrument, you'll see that Kontakt is assigned a volume envelope. It does this by default whenever you create a new instrument, and it's usually pretty handy. You can remove it if you need to, but since we're making a pad sound, this is actually going to be really handy. Pads traditionally have a really slow attack and a really slow release, so we'll adjust the knobs accordingly. So check it. We started off with a percussive metallic sound and turned it into a pad. Our original source sample in this case was, as we have reviewed, a metallic smacking sound. So the timbre of your original sample has a pretty large impact on the overall timbre of your resultant pad. So in order to make something a little warmer, we can try using a different original sound. Let's go ahead and scroll up here and we'll use one of those kind of boomy drum sounds. These are kind of nice. Yeah, we'll go ahead and use number 3. Once again, Kontakt will transpose this in the traditional method. And again, our initial sound is a lot warmer this time. So we'll go ahead and click on the wrench and open up our options. And we'll select Tone Machine once again. We'll crank our speed knob down to a luscious 6.6%. And let's hear what we have so far. Yeah, it's nice and warm as opposed to last time. Let's crank our formants down. Oh, that sounds almost like an analog type synth sound already. Once again, we want to crank up the attack and crank up the release so that we have that traditional pad envelope. That's pretty wicked. Yeah, so we have gone from this kind of booming drum sample here and turned it into this lovely, warm, analogish pad sound. So you can get an idea of the potential of this particular method of working with samples in Kontakt. This granular nature of the source module allows you to do some really cool things with your sounds. Of course, you can also add effects here, like choruses, flangers, and that sort of thing. And you could set things differently in the Tone Machine's source settings and your envelopes. This should just give you a jumping off point to do some really spectacular things with your sounds in Kontakt.
And there you have it. Transforming a simple percussive sample into a playable pad. This is just the beginning. Take what you've learned here, go out there. You're now armed with everything you need to become the next Debbie Gibson or Kip Winger. Go. Good luck and Godspeed.